I just hit the live button, but do not worry, we can wait for more people to join
Okay.
because what we're talking right now, I find it very it's very important for people to know that, well, at least in my case, like I see that you have this amazing curriculum, but beyond that, you just don't achieve all those things without having certain setting of mind. And I think that it's very important to remind people that uh, get off Twitter. The
Yeah.
world sucks. You just have to, like focus on what you want to do, and that's how you do it. Because I don't know if it happens to you. I think that it happens to everyone in this space. Everyone is always creating something, and it's very
Mhm.
easy to like fall into comparisons. Like, oh, like you made it to Forbes. You made it to the Forbes top
Yeah,
list, and
I
it was a thrill and everything. Woo! And then
was a
who
surprise
knows?
actually. Yeah. I mean, I guess to your point, and since you mentioned Forbes, I think it's an interesting thing because when that happened, and like maybe it's just my mindset or my education, but I really thought, like, is it something that you really deserve? And I think that's the right set of mind because each time I reach something, I just forget about it and focus on what's next. And so I feel like right now the blessing in that achievement was to be able to say to people what I'm working on is important. It's the future. You should pay attention. And by using these references, like I'm not a big reader. I don't read Forbes. I don't care about rankings. I don't care who achieved what before a certain age. I don't think it matters at all. But if that information makes people like listen more to you in a meeting or in a presentation, let's just use the platform. So right now what I'm really trying to focus is what is next and what I can achieve with the upcoming project, and we'll talk about it.
No, but yeah, that's amazing. Like, okay, let's set the record straight, and this is how the talk is going to go. We are moving forward. We're staying home, but that doesn't mean that we're not moving. Like having like that set of mind, it's completely different to the mess that it's
I think
going on out there. I think
I
that it's
think many
important.
people, yeah, I think many people feel the same way. Like I know I've been doing more during the lockdown than before. And I feel like many people right now are starting to, focus on what's important for them and not only just think about ideas or talk about ideas, but really start executing on them. And we live in an era where it's possible to be in a pandemic, in a lockdown, and build projects, create communities, launch initiatives, and that's great.
Yeah, unless you are a blockchain traveler, so then no, then then you need to
I,
look for
I
something else.
master I master astral projection.
We're not going to get into astrology right now. I did that yesterday, and I ended up a little bit sad when I read my horoscope. Everyone's
Oh,
horoscope this month is in retrograde. I don't know how to say that in English.
I
Don't
can
do
help you
anything
there.
this month. Don't do anything this month. Apparently, that's what my horoscope told me because it's going to
Well,
go wrong. And I was like,
I'm doing the opposite. I'm doing everything this month. So
yeah, me too. I was like, no, no. Okay, well, since we're on the topic of moving forward, and well, blockchain is the future, I'm going to do a very cliche thing, and I'm going to ask you the very cliche question. Well, I cannot do that until you laugh a little bit more, so I'm going to skip jokes.
okay.
I asked a developer in which team he was on, and he was very confused because I made it sound like he was. It was about Bitcoin or Ethereum. I'm not going to ask you that question like that. I don't
Okay.
want you to get mad at me 5 minutes into the conversation.
No worries.
Um, but either way, why did you decide to build a career on blockchain?
Hmm. Okay, so first of all, I really did not decide to build a blockchain career. It just happens. Like, I remember when I was younger, I was interested in topics. And so what I did throughout my education was select, year after year, the topics that I wanted to know more about. And I feel that's a very healthy thing to do, especially for, kids, teenagers and students right now who are figuring out what they want to be when they grow up. Like, we are always trying to figure out that, because we are always, growing up. So what I did is, in high school, I was really into literature. I wanted to be a writer, actually. And then I don't know if it's the same on your side, but like in France, they always tell us you have to think about the jobs that you're going to be able to get. So maybe literature is not the best way to go. But like, I was really into it. I actually wrote a novel, a fantasy novel, when I was younger. And so I was like, okay, then I'm going to go into science, which I loved as well because I was so curious. And so I did that. I was fascinated, I still am, by the human brain. And so I wanted to do like a neuroscience or something. And I don't know, I had this crazy idea that it would be nice to be a doctor, until I got into med school and I found out that it was not so nice. I couldn't say about the job. I'm just talking about the studies itself. Like, it was humanly a very toxic environment. The first one in many that I discovered. And so I just had to get out of there. Like, it was super competitive. Nobody really cared about, the medicine itself. I have so many anecdotes, like people were stealing books. Like, if you went to the library and left something on the table and it was the book that the teacher was mentioning in the class before, you come back and they stole it. They were doing ball games in the amphitheater, things like that. So I was like, okay, great. Those are the doctors of tomorrow. So I left that place real quick and I went into engineering school. And so it was great because, people were all about doing projects, working collaboratively, so many texts that we would discover and try to find out how to use them to solve a specific issue. And, I really found what I loved about problem solving. So anyone can come from any industry, any country, any background and be like, I have this issue. Can you solve it? And so it really became about, how do I learn the knowledge and the skills that I need to be able to solve the problems that I care about. So I finished engineering school. During that time, I worked in the military for quite some time. It's funny because after that, I turned to healthcare. For me, it was as fascinating, but it was about the impact, like the ethics. So I was using the same mindset. You were talking about that. The same mindset, the same sometimes complex technology, but instead of building, like an algorithm that would make it easier to target a specific location for a missile, it would be to help people that suffers from, I don't know, retinopathy, that are going to go blind because of diabetes. And you can prevent that by giving them a diagnosis early on. So I started seeing that it was actually possible for me to use the tech and the stuff I learned to make an impact, and that really stuck with me. And so after that, I went into a telecommunication company to do a thesis. So it was really about computer science, telecoms, and I started working on blockchain maybe 1 year after that. I discovered it completely randomly. And, I just read the Satoshi Nakamoto paper, and after that,
Oh my
I
God.
was plugged. Yeah, and it was in
You're like,
2015.
this is not any novel. This is a love novel.
Yeah,
Oh my
it is.
God.
Actually, there is a
Cliche, oh
YouTuber
my God.
who did a love song about that. A love song for the
Yeah.
Bitcoin or Satoshi. Yeah, I think it was Naomi. Yeah, people.
But
What we learn
yeah.
in this industry is that people really get crazy. It's so weird. I came to that industry with an engineering mindset, problem solving mindset, like very cold, non-emotional approach. And then I discovered people talking about this tech almost as religious people, fighting about ideas. It was not even rational. And so that also got me very interested. Like I was interested in blockchain, but then I become even more interested in the space, the communities, the ecosystem. And so that's why I started doing more, meetups and hackathons, conferences. For the last 5 years, it was not just about, reading papers, working on protocols. It was also mainly about the people.
No, yeah, that's I don't know, the whole journey.
Yeah.
Wow, sounds like a blast, really.
Yeah.
I know that we're in the game of no comparisons, but seriously, we're the same age, and I also got so interesting talking to you about this because there's a lot of young people that are getting into this space and don't really know what to expect. I actually have heard people in computer science refers to Bitcoin as the deep web cryptocurrency. So,
Yeah.
It's wow, how
But
amazing! What? Yeah,
degrees don't matter. If it's
degrees
something
don't
that
matter.
I've
Yeah,
learned, like I'm not even just saying that because it's what some people wants to hear. I'm saying that because I've seen it. I've seen it in during meetings. I've seen it, in boardrooms. I've seen it in so many instances. And some people, they have good degrees. They have sometimes good experiences professionally, but when they don't get it, they're just not going to be able to deliver the value and the impact that we need. So I mean, you can have a degree from MIT and be so caught up in your life and what your community is talking about, you don't even see what people are facing elsewhere in the world, or just even in your neighborhood, but they have maybe a completely different life, and you don't know it because you're young, you haven't experienced anything, you haven't seen everything, you haven't talked to everyone. So you really need to be humble and be like, okay, so maybe I have a degree, maybe not, but let's say I have some skills. Now I have to do the work, whatever my age is, to talk to people, to observe, and to see how I can efficiently offer something. Well, I guess that's my point. Like I'm always trying to see what I can bring to something. But like, let's just say make a difference.
yes, and well, that's something that we see a lot in the blockchain space, indeed. Like the need to provide for solutions constantly, and that is perfect for people who are problem solvers. So, uh, with this said, which was wow, very interesting. Like I didn't saw it coming, like the whole medicine military engineering thing. And
I'm
now I
full of
know that
surprises.
and now I know that studying medicine in France doesn't only sounds difficult, it sounds dangerous. Um I was expecting like is there a knife in any of the stories? It sounds like maybe there was a couple of fights in the bathroom for the books.
I mean, let's just say that if you have some really high quality notes about a specific lesson, then yeah, you might want to be careful.
It might get physical. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. So no medicine. Okay, cool. I can live with that. So I want to reproduce something. You have to tell me if you can hear it well.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it goes with the next question. So
Is it
let's
a
see.
blind test? Are we doing a blind test? I love blind tests. I love games.
Yes. Me too. Okay. But hold on just a second. I'm going to turn off my camera.
What's going on?
You'll know soon enough. Wait. You know, I really like to pull pranks and everything, but when it comes to just knowing what will make people have this surprise face, I really love that. Hold up. Maybe. Oh my god. You know what?
Hmm?
I'm gonna have to do a blind test later because right now this is not working, and this is lame. Why are you not working? Anyways, so I'm going to pull that prank on you later. You're not off of this, just because my production team is lame.
No
Anyways,
worries.
well, so here comes another question that you might have already heard one too many times. Maybe at the Comic Con, because apparently you talk about blockchain at the Comic Con. I don't know how the hell that happened,
I
but
did. I don't know. I mean, it happened quite fast.
I don't know. It happens.
I mean, I'll be honest. I was like in a space. We were doing so we were Comic Con in San Diego. We were doing a hackathon, blockchain hackathon, and then we were walking around trying to see if there were interesting panels. And then someone says, "Oh, there is a panel about crypto and blockchain." And then someone says, "Do you want to speak?" And then I was like, "Yes, sure." Then I was on the stage, and they had printed my name, and then I was a speaker at Comic Con, which was like definitely on my bucket list.
This wasn't on my bucket list and on my bucket list, but definitely is now, and I just made it. Okay. Wow, you just had the trifecta. That was a trifecta of experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It just happens, to some people. Cool. um. Well, I'd like to ask you. Well, unlike the Comic Con, or maybe like the Comic Con, the blockchain space, the technological space is well, visibly mostly male. So,
Mhm.
yeah, inevitably, I have heard more and more stories of women in tech
Mhm.
that have this different vision. You either have never experienced that lack of representation affect you, or you have had all the other very bad experiences related to gender inequality. So, going beyond that, what do you think it can be done to inspire more women into blockchain and cryptocurrency?
So people often ask me the question, I guess maybe because I'm a woman, I don't know.
Maybe.
So from an engineering standpoint, I feel like women can work on tech stuff. It's not something that we have to prove. It's sometimes I read about I guess positive discrimination. I don't know how it's called in English, but like the fact that women are preferred for some job offer over men just because of quotas and stuff like that. And I find it quite insulting because it has the premise that hiring a woman is in a technical position is like because of that, this quota and stuff like that, and not because she has the skills to do that job. So at the same time, you see that and you're like, but something has to be done because it's not really balanced. Like I work in spaces, I've worked in companies when we were like few women in a room full of hundreds of men. And it's like normal. Like honestly, for me, when I arrive in a space and I see more women, I am surprised, and I'm a woman. So you see how the bias is deep, because as a woman, I'm very surprised sometimes when I arrive at a tech conference and I see more women. And of course, I'm happy about that. So at the same time, you're like, what can we do about it without doing something unfair to everyone? I guess there is no solution that is specific to the blockchain and crypto space. It's something that we have to work on globally. It's really systemic. So it's not because we have a lack of women interested in science when they're younger. It's not because the companies are not suited for a female. It's not really like that. It's a mix of everything. Sometimes when you're young, there is an opportunity that is going to come up and you have to take it. So you have to be educated in a way that you think it's your right place to do it. So it starts at a very young age. But then later on, It's also true when you're an adult and you're at the company and you see that there is a position that you want. So are you going to do your best to claim it, or are you going just to sit this one out because that's what you've been used to? So it has to do with psychology. It has to do with education at an early age. It has to do also with management style and atmosphere. Like I've seen some very toxic management. And so really the first people it affects are women. I would say women and minorities. Like usually when they start leaving the boat, it means that something bad is happening. They're usually the first one leaving because they just can't take it on the top of everything else. So it's interesting to see also the diversity policy that company can have. I see a lot of people talking about that, but then not doing things regarding that. Like they would say, we have a diversity policy, then you will be inside and you will see that there's still really, really big issue regarding salaries. I mean, I could go on and on. There is no simple answer to this question. It's like what's happening right now with Black Lives Matters and things like that. If we had the silver bullets, we would use it, but we don't. So it's just everybody needs to be conscious that it's a thing. And we have to try to find solution locally and do our best as men, women, everyone.
Yeah, well, that's very well put, because you actually make me think of I asked this because something that I personally like about this space, and something that you also said earlier, talking about your own experience with blockchain, is that this is a technology that where it reunites people from many different backgrounds. So yeah, you see a lot of women founders and men founders that have nothing to do with technology when they first came into the space, and then they are running a tech company, a blockchain tech related company. So I still
wish to see more diversity. I mean, I've been in the space for quite some time. The situation is different depending on the scale, like your geography. And it's also different depending on the vertical. Like, for example, where if you're in finance, if you're in healthcare, if you're in supply chain, etc. What I can say is that it's not just even about gender. It's about what I was talking about earlier, like going out from that bubble. Most of the people who have the knowledge or had the knowledge to build protocols, to work on blockchain, etc., came from a community that was mainly developer community or from the finance sector. And those are two sectors where we don't have a lot of women. And like when we have, if you go and talk to them, you will hear some, let's just say complaints. So now you mix the two of them and you're trying to build the future of the internet and you expect that to be more diverse. Like how?
Yeah.
It's not magical. It's not just going to happen. It's not because you have a tech that is decentralized and has all this great value and the philosophy behind it that women and other people who are underrepresented are going to appear. So I feel like it is up to the people who really feel like they don't belong to that space to understand that, first of all, they belong everywhere. I mean, they belong anywhere they want to be. That they don't need to be like super geeky to go into that space, and that they have something to offer, their experience, their view, their day-to-day life, where they maybe encounter some issues that they could bring into the space to be solved. Because a developer is not going to have that life experience, and like usually they're pretty young. So how can you? I'm sorry, but like how can you trust people who have almost no work and life experience to build the big system of tomorrow that might be the future of democracy, of governance, of finance? And then the people who understand that and come to that space, usually they actually come from the system that we are trying to disrupt. So then it becomes an urgency, like get in there, because they're just going to rebuild whatever system they had on the new platforms and maintain the elites. So really, I really wish blockchain to be an opportunity for us to rebuild the internet and to rebuild society and like the digital landscape. But it's not going to happen by magic. We need people to care. and join and get over, their fear and their complex and I don't belong there. I'm not a developer. I can't code. I can blah blah blah.
Oh no, that's just wishful thinking. You're going back to astrology again.
I told you I'm an.
You're going back to good wishes again. When we cannot do that, we have representation to do.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we don't want people. We don't want people who are immature, fighting over Twitter.
You know what they say, you have to take your seat at the table, but if you don't really like the table, you just build your own. So
exactly, or buy it.
yeah.
I'm just
Has the lockdown taught you nothing about doing things yourself? Like build a table.
I built a table. I did that. Yes. Okay. But I also ordered online so I could build it. Okay. Anyways. Okay. Ready for the test? Okay. You have to close your eyes for this one.
Close my eyes?
You have to close your eyes. I'm freaking serious. This is a serious interview. Okay. Tell me if you can hear this.
Nope. Can you put it louder?
Doesn't go louder. Nothing?
Sounds like an epic music for a video game or.
Mm-hmm. Do you know for what?
I don't hear it really.
Okay, wait. I won't mess up with it. Wait.
Oh wait. This is Hellhound.
Yes!
Yeah. Woo! You know that's because I spent so much time editing that video, so I know the music. Like I only heard like 2 seconds, and I was like, I recognize the song. Awesome. So you want to talk about like privacy and
because something that really catch my attention besides obviously games, it's that you worked on privacy related projects, and well, this was just one of them. Hellhound is just one of them, and one was about critical data management, and Hellhound is about decentralized blind computation based on Ethereum, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was working at Consensus, so everything is kind of based on Ethereum, but really it's quite agnostic. Like you can, so just to give you the technical details, it's like an off-chain computation network, and then you have smart contracts that are used in that architecture, and they represent maybe 10% of the project. And so, of course, the smart contracts, you can put them on Ethereum, but you can put them on any protocol. But we like Ethereum.
What the hell? No. What the hell? It's a decentralized blind computation platform. Can I use it? What?
I mean, so can you use it? The idea is that anyone could use it, but it doesn't exist because the project has no funding right now. But we had developed so we have that demo that we showed at DEF CON, and it worked. People were able to play with it. They were able to do blind computation, meaning they were able to send us data encrypted, and we were able to compute it without knowing what they send us. And then we were able to give them the result. So it's pretty great if you think about it. It's like you need something from me. I mean, picture that situation. You need something from me, but you don't want to tell me what, but you need my help.
Okay.
So you need my help, but you cannot tell me why, but I'm going to help you. And then you're going to be satisfied. So that's blind computation. You need a computation done, but maybe you don't have the capacities, or you need to delegate that computation on an external server. And you are going to trust that third part with your computation. So currently you have to just send your data, because people, they cannot do computation over encrypted data. because it becomes something that people cannot understand and algorithm cannot compute on them. But like with our solution, we are able to run algorithms that are going to compute on encrypted data and give you back an encrypted result. And so when the third part sends you back that result, that still the third part does not understand what it just sent you, you are going to be able to decrypt it and you're going to get your result. So for us, it's the future of, what any application on the web should be. Privacy by design. Now you can build any application, could be something very private, could be something trivial, and you're sure that no one else is going to access your data. Because the paradigm that we live in today is, you want to use my service, either it's free and you can use it, but since you're giving me all your data, I'm gonna use those data and create other services and make money out of your data. And you can use my service for free. Sometimes you have to pay me to use my service. And so not only do I get the money from you, but I still get the data. What we're trying to do is something that doesn't exist. We're trying to make it so you send me encrypted data, so I don't have access to your information. Maybe you pay me if it's in my business model, and then you get back your result. And it's just fair. Like, you get the result, I get the money. That's how things should have been. But because of the way the internet was built and the big players that we know today, they saw what was at first just a side effect. We're doing, I don't know, like search engine and application and social network and blah, blah, blah. And it's all great. And then the side effect was like, oh, we have so many data. And then someone smart was like, oh, let's use this data. And then it became very shady, like unethical. And we were still focusing on what they put in front of us, which was the service, and forgetting everything about the data that we're actually feeding them. This created parallel economy that we are not part of. This is where the user got kicked out of the value chain that is fueled by our data and our interaction daily with those applications. So if you think about it, it's like a takeover that happened on our data. It's highly unfair. So what we're trying to do is even the playing field and say, okay, let's think about what the web should have been from the start. You want to use a service, you have some data. I have no right to own your data. If I need something from you, then maybe you can pay me. If I really need your data, then I'm going to tell you, we need your data because we are trying to do, I don't know, like a clinical trial, or we're trying to improve our advertisement engine. And maybe I'm going to pay you. Like, if that works well, you give me your data and that works well, I'm going to pay you. I'm going, okay, thanks to your data, I was able to create this service and it's working so well. Clients are paying my platform. And so I give you, like a fee or something. So this is really like the economy that we have in mind. And I feel it's possible. Maybe it's a coincidence that it's happening at the same time as blockchain, but like blockchain has been the catalyst of many great ideas, and like it was like a trigger, like ideas that sometimes don't really have a link to blockchain started spinning just because people, the mindset of people changed. They learned about things that have nothing to do with tech. They learned about governance, decentralization, circular economics, wealth distribution, the origin of money, the power system that we live in. And so all that, got people thinking. And so it's not even about blockchain anymore, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But is it wrong that when you said how this system of encrypted data works, I could only think of either mean to evil to embarrassing, just user data that they definitely don't want anyone to know. Like, okay, for example.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So you're having a normal reaction. This is the reaction that people had about Bitcoin. Like, oh, so why would we need something that is not at the hand of governments and maybe people can be pseudonymous? Do we have something to hide? Is it just for trafficking? Is it for illegal activity? Like, that's where our mind goes because we were brainwashed that way. We were brainwashed to think that if it's not something that comes from some big institution, big names, government, society, you know, like reference, then it's maybe wrong. It's maybe because we're doing something bad. It's maybe because we're trying to hide stuff. You know, take a look at messaging application. Encryption should be the default. Everything that, like, if I want to text you, I don't want people to be able to read what I'm texting you. Same goes with the email. But for so long, the default has been that actually those providers have access to the content. And when applications started being launched that had privacy by design at their core and encrypted communication, what was the first reaction? Oh, this is going to be great for terrorists. They're going to use it for terrorists, blah, 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 blah. And then the normal citizen will be like, oh, but I'm not a terrorist. I don't want to use technology that terrorists use, you know? But it's crazy. It's crazy because technology is neutral. I mean, we know that. A tech, a tool, it's neutral. It's really what you do with it. And you're not going to take away a tech that has the potential to help or be interesting to 99% of the world population, because there's one person that is going to do terrible things with it. If that were the case, then we should, you know, ban the internet. We should maybe stop having cars, you know, because you can also use cars to transport.
Stop giving them ideas.
No, but let's do it. I mean, if that's the idea, then let's ban anything that can be used for illegal stuff or bad stuff. Why do you think they focus only on some of the things? It's because those things, it has nothing to do. So that's the spoiler. It has nothing to do with whether it's illegal or for trafficking, etc. It has to do with power. They're only going to be scared, and they're going to try to scare you about the technology that actually can give you more power or more awareness, and like maybe disrupt the system that are in place. Bitcoin is doing that with the finance sector. Finance sector, like money, basically is linked to the state. Then it's pretty easy to go from there to questioning the democracy that we're living when you live actually, when you have the chance to be in a democracy. And so this is all very confusing and threatening to some of the people. And so that's why they're going to, you know, every time they say something is bad, that's where I actually focus my attention. That's what you should do. Every time you hear, no, this technology is this and that, you should like open your eyes and start reading and start learning and asking people who know what they're talking about.
Great. I think that this will be easier if we were just speaking in French, because I think that I get French. No, don't do it.
What, we have French in the chat?
No. I'm like, okay. No, thank God, no French comments. I will be like, I can understand French by ear, but no writing, please. Only English. Okay, so among you know, you're right. We're set to think a certain way when it comes to with technology, especially encrypted technology. But I was just mentioning embarrassing things that I don't want the solution provider to know in like a health kind of thing. Like, picture it. You're going through something embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. You don't really want to say it, but it's so embarrassing that you just go to the internet and go to familydoctor.com. You know, that kind of thing. That's what I was thinking. Like,
and
okay,
then
I don't want to identify myself. I don't want anyone to know that I put something.
You shouldn't go to those websites.
You know?
You're gonna get scared. That's where you learn that actually that rash was a skin cancer and stuff.
Yeah, but, you know, it's meant to. Everything is cancer on the internet. I know that. You know that.
You can have encrypted search. You know, so what I think some search engine today offer that feature. But so basically, just talking from a technical standpoint, you could have encrypted search and be able to search for anything that you want without being either tracked or without the content of your search being identifiable. And then you could also have like application that are like believe in privacy by design and build their architecture like this. So you could even go, like it doesn't have to compromise the application itself. You could build notification, you could have messaging, you can have all of that, just like the regular user experience that you're having, but with privacy by design. To do that, it's not difficult in the sense that the tech exists. Honestly, it's not like a big challenge. If we were able to, go into space, we should be able to manage like a private application. What is lacking is the incentive for people to do that, because why would they invest more money to build those features? So it's either the legal framework evolve, like what happened with GDPR. And so you have just to comply with some rule regarding data protection of the people. And so you have to do it because otherwise you're going to get a fine, etc. You're going to get in trouble. Or it can also come with an understanding of where society is heading, and understanding that if you don't want to be a dinosaur, if you don't want to be like, I don't know, the equivalent of an oil company, but on the internet, then you have to adapt your philosophy and start by default thinking about the right of the users and their privacy. And so what your question was regarding embarrassing data, blah, 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 it won't become a problem because you will know that when you surf on those apps that have privacy by design, you're protected. Your data is protected. It's still yours. Maybe it doesn't even leave your phone. Maybe it's deleted, And what is really interesting is when people talk about blockchain regarding that, and sometimes they don't really understand how blockchain works, but like blockchain stores all your information. So of course, we're not going to send your data on blockchain. I'm just saying that because many people believe that blockchain is going to be an issue for privacy. But we don't store, like no one should store personal data on chain. And if you have to store something, you have to encrypt it or provide just a hash and have a source that is hosted elsewhere on the internet that you can, edit, delete, share, whatever.
Okay, so you're saying I can just go, for example, if okay, fingers crossed, the project gets funded and you guys get to finally start when you just have like too many languages?
Yeah, I know. I currently speak in
I will start
French,
speaking in
English,
Spanish, but
and Arabic.
I don't think that it goes both ways with me talking in Spanish and you understanding it. I think it goes only one way.
I think because of my French, I can understand a little bit your Spanish, but yeah, let's keep it in English for the people.
Let's keep it civil. Yeah. No, what I was just rambling thinking was about the use of this application in the future, just to being able to ask about the rash. Why are rashes so embarrassing? Who knows? Pimples.
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not going to judge, but like I don't find anything embarrassing. Maybe it's because I went to med school for like 6 months, but I really don't care. What I believe in is actually protecting the data when you're trying to do something that might be dangerous for yourself. Like, for example, for activists, for people who are trying to denounce something bad that is happening, those people might really need privacy, especially at the early stages. But for everything else, I mean, just get over it, just look for what you need. But to your point, for the healthcare data, there is a threat as well, which is your data being accessible by insurance, and then you could have like pay higher or not get insurance, or maybe your company might be aware of that. Maybe you won't get a job because you actually have a disease and you cannot carry weight, blah, blah, blah. Like all these things can be visible. And so this is where, like, really this should be your focus, is like, how can people use my data to do me harm? Not about how embarrassing they are. Like, who cares? Everybody is doing embarrassing stuff. Who cares?
I don't know. Either way, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, and neither are you. Shut up.
I could have
I
been.
was just talking about health because you actually are you actually have a project called the Kidner
Kidner.
project. What could you just say kidneys? I don't know how to pronounce that.
So it's a name that we found during a hackathon. So it's kidney and Tinder, because we're matching people for kidney transplants.
Yeah, but how this idea came up? Why to try to use the this is with blockchain, I think, right?
Yeah.
This is blockchain related. Okay, because this started as
Everything
a
in my
project.
life is blockchain related, but it's not about blockchain always. Like for example, Kidner is not about blockchain. Who cares? But it's true that it was born at a blockchain hackathon, the first one I attended. That really,
Okay.
it was like an incredible experience. So we're back in 2015, where we left earlier. And so now I know about Bitcoin. I understand about the blockchain, the technology, the paradigm, I would say, underlying the Bitcoin protocol. And I start immediately thinking, what can I do with that? What else? What else can we build? And so I go to this hackathon in Dublin, and I met some cool people. And one guy, he had a book called Who Gets What and Why. And it's really talking about broken markets, housing, study grants, things like that. Like, how come some markets are so broken that the offer is very, very, very low and the demand is super high? How can we fix those broken markets? And in this book, he talks about kidney. He says, so many people in the world, because there is a worldwide shortage, are waiting for a kidney transplant. They need a kidney. But the offer, obviously, is very low because, we have not managed to either grow kidney in a scalable way. And of course, since most of the kidney come from, deceased donor, you're not going to try to accelerate the death of people to get more kidney. So how do you, what leverage can you find to increase the offer? And so what he described was a kidney pair exchange. And so that's what we implemented. The idea is that if you want a kidney and you know someone that wants to give you a kidney, and you're not compatible, because that happens a lot, you still can do something about it. You still can register as a pair. So both you, the donor and the recipient, and you enter in a big graph of people who are in the same situation. And so what the algorithm does, again, using blind computation, is trying to match you with other people in other pairs. So if, for example, I can find someone that is willing to give a kidney to save his person, and you're a match with that person, then he's going to give you the kidney. And your donor is maybe going to give the kidney to someone else. And so we can create cycles. It's like a chain of donation. Get it? So it means that at all time, we have 50% people donating kidney and 50% people receiving a kidney. And those numbers, they just don't exist naturally. Naturally, it's a broken market. But with that technique, we can even it out. So that's what we're trying to build. So the blockchain comes into play because we were looking for a way to make the process more transparent and make sure that nobody could cheat the system because they had money or relations in some hospitals or whatever. No one can jump the queue. So it's, the algorithm prioritizes you based on many things, but one is the timestamp. When did you register? And this cannot be changed if it's in a blockchain. So yeah, so that's why we use blockchain. But like I said, it's not about blockchain. It's really about how do we optimize things to save life. Like, it's just an idea. It's very simple.
It's very simple, and blockchain is just a tool.
Exactly.
The more it's very funny because the more I talk with engineers and people like realists that have been fighting with the code, they just say it's just a tool. And the people who are outside of this developer world, well, you get the question.
Everyone talk about blockchain. Nobody talks about issues. I want people to talk about the problems. Of course, you have to understand what blockchain is, what it can do, and what it can't do. That's why I actually created something called the blockchain canvas. So it's like a
Yeah.
methodology that I use a lot. So we talked about that, the hackathons. After that hackathon, I actually started working on doing hackathons myself in France. So I joined a group of people, very smart people, and they were looking to do a first hackathon in Paris in 2016. So I worked on that, and from there, we did many editions. And so the goal was to have a place where not only developers would feel welcome, but also designers, people who might be retired, people who are working in healthcare, people who are students, people who have like big career but are looking for a total change. And so we welcome all those people, and we do a hackathon. So they just find issues to solve. Then we teach them with workshops and mentors about blockchain and crypto and all those stuff. We help them. And then at the end, the output is a solution with a real demo. And then they can go on and build a company if they want. And so I create the blockchain canvas to help them identify if their use cases and the blockchain were a match. So do you really need a blockchain to solve this issue? Do you really need a blockchain for your solution? And so through that methodology, they can, figure things out. And if they want to take it to the next level, they just fill all the boxes and they have a full presentation of their use case. So, these are the little things that I'm trying to do to help people, empower them to use blockchain, but more personally.
I wanted to ask you precisely about that, because I saw the webpage and I was like, yes, finally, realistic. We see language barriers. Anyways, you should learn Spanish. That's what I said to everyone.
I could. Why do you think I haven't been in South America yet? Because my goal is to learn Spanish first.
Well, if I can teach English here, I can teach Spanish to someone else. That's just my train of thought. Don't worry, we'll work it out.
I'll send you some bitcoins.
No, don't worry about it. All I want in return is just to see people trying to say things in Spanish. That warms my heart.
How do you say looking for Satoshi in Spanish?
Buscando por Satoshi. Buscando a Satoshi.
Wow. Okay. I'll have to rehearse that.
Yeah, buscando. It's looking, which is researche, I think.
Yes. Yes.
I just know.
You speak French.
Comes naturally to me.
Nice. Yeah, actually, I decided to use that for my Instagram, in 2018. So at that point, it was 3 years in the blockchain space. I started working on Kidney, so the kidney and healthcare project, focusing on social impact, trying to do basically everything but finance, which is funny. And I'm saying that because right now I'm focusing on finance, and it mostly has to do with the crisis and all the inequalities that I'm seeing right now. And the fact that actually, power comes from having decision power over capital. So,
you can run, but you can't hide from it. I mean, you are in the space, so.
No, yeah, but I didn't want it to be just about finance and speculation and things like that, because it would be super narrow, very, for me, not interesting at all. I had no curiosity or will to rebuild the financial system on blockchain. I was I'm going to do something else with it. Right now, what is interesting is that we are seeing some original ways to have more inclusive finance, access to investment, and just safer ways for people to handle their money using blockchain and crypto, which was not the case a few years back. So now it's starting to become interesting, and it's starting to become more realistic. If I'm going to talk about it to someone in the street or in my family or friend, they don't care about blockchain and Satoshi and whatever. They want a solution. And so I feel like in 2020 now I can go to them and actually talk about this, and also onboard them in a way that is meaningful and not just geeky bullshit and oh, you should come on Reddit and Twitter and say how well we debate on stuff, but this might be interesting to you. You might even earn money, or you might, for example, in Venezuela, with the inflation and all, I really believe that crypto was, I mean, you know better than me, but it was really a thing. So this is what people need to see. People, they don't care really about technology, they care about the stories. So we should put more emphasis on storytelling and explaining people where is the value. And as human, if you understand the value, then your brain is going to start understanding the concept. But if you go to people and be like, okay, I'm going to tell you about blocks and hashes and timestamping and, you know, consensus protocols, they're like, you know, leave me alone, basically. So, yeah.
Well, that's a good technique for people to leave you alone. You just
I do that.
Yeah, I do that.
Do
Well, when guys come over and tell you things like they just slide into your DMs like, you're a very techie kind of girl. You're so nerdy. They just go to Wikipedia.
Start asking you about what you do in life, and then you answer, and then it's like, oh, what's going on?
Oh wow, so hot.
No, actually, it's not even like that. You know
copy
what
a block of text.
No, you know what happens is actually the worst. Is like when you start telling people what you do, then they are like, oh, really? What kind of tokens should I buy? What crypto? Where do I invest? And I'm like, I'm an engineer. I don't know. Like, I'm not a trader. So, yeah. But so looking for Satoshi was really about trying to open up and talk with communities all around the world. So since 2018, I think I've been to like 15 countries and, you know, discovered so many projects and people. I post about art, I post about diversity, about toxicity. I'm really trying to create bridges between people. I really don't like when people feel like they don't belong. I think it's dangerous to maintain that.
Yeah. Well, I have been saying the exact same thing for a long time because I did a stick with my literary side.
Oh yeah.
Because I said a journalist. It was just the thing. I found the thing. But for journalists, it's not. You should see some of the other interviews. I'm actually going to speak with a journalist tomorrow, so it's going to be fun. Well, an engineer who writes for a newspaper back in Venezuela. So that will be fun.
Very cool. Very cool. I actually remember that in the first hackathon that we organized, we had a project that was trying to create a platform for journalism, but crowd-funded. So like you would send crypto and that budget would be used by the journalists to go investigate on the topic that the community was interested about. And it's very interesting when you think about it because most big media are at the hand of, lobbies and, business people and companies, which is ethically not good. So yeah.
Well, newspapers run on publicity, and by the time when I learned that, it didn't seem like a huge deal, and then you start learning all this news about newspapers that cannot talk bad about the people who are giving them money.
Yeah, but it's like a big conflict of interest. Like I cannot trust a platform that cannot say some things about important stuff because of that. So back to what I was saying at the beginning, like money is like capital is the root of all the things. Like if you have access to it and if you are the one who decide how it is used, then you can do things. If not, then you are like basically a slave.
Yeah, but I want us to move to a merrier subject. Actually, talking about looking for Satoshi, I had this question for you. You move really fast, so I have to. Okay, good. I wanted to know, since you've been traveling so much and learning so much, what has been the most insightful moment you can remember of your travels?
So many. I mean, I've been to 15 countries, and for each one, I have good anecdotes. But I guess recently, where I get most of the inspiration is truly when I discuss with people who are facing difficulties, like at work, in some groups, in some communities, namely women, what we call minorities. I don't really like this term. I don't know if we have another term for that, but like, non-white male people, basically. And it's really interesting because when you start talking to people who are not, it's not about complaining or whatever, it's really about doing an analysis. Like, those people, because of their life, have some insights that you just don't find in mainstream media, or like you really have to be looking for this content to know about it. Recently, we're seeing more of that out in the open because of the recent events in the US, but even the protests everywhere in the world, even in France right now. So now we're starting to see that hidden part of the iceberg being revealed to the world. But even before that, like, it's been going on for years. Like, I don't care. People, they discover it right now, like it's the new big thing, but it's not the new big thing. It's like just a reflection of what has been going on for years. And where I got most of my inspiration is when I talk to people like that and we share the common issues that we have and also our ideas on how to change that. And so recently, just this week, actually, I started working on a project that I'm going to launch maybe next week, which is about building a DAO, so a decentralized autonomous organization to manage funds to finance projects and initiatives that are working to fight against inequalities, injustice, like could be on any topic, depending on what people want to focus on, but something that is really owned by the community, where only members can vote on how the money is spent. So you don't have to go through an association, trust someone, like one influencer or one person that has a specific visibility at one time to handle that money. You really are a community of people that understand that from money comes power, and commitment to a governance system can give you a voice. And so by just contributing at your own scale and voting regularly, you're going to make an impact. And not only you're going to do that, but it's going to be transparent because everyone is going to see, the funds, the transaction, who is paid, who is getting what, etc. But also measuring it. Like, we can actually measure impact. We can say at the end of the year, it has not to be something big. It's already going to be on the blockchain. We received this much money and we used this much money. And here are the projects that got the funding, and here are the results. And I feel like it's like freedom right there, Just the idea itself is making me feel better. And maybe I'm doing project as a therapeutic way to fight against the anxiety that I have sometimes when I see how the world is working. And I feel like people, they get exhausted, they get tired, they get angry, they get sad, they get depressed. And at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do, at least for the people that I know, my community, I would say, is offer them a way to empower them. Like, you don't have to feel like this. You can actually do something, take actions, and improve. Maybe it's going to be your own perception of what you can achieve, and it's going to make you feel better. And hopefully, actually, what you're achieving is going to help other people. And so then we create a virtuous cycle, something great. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, it's also a great advice. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I didn't get to make you all the questions because Jesus freaking Christ, but at least you did pick up on the song, and that was the prank of the day.
So now I'm really curious about the 50 cent thing. Actually, when I was writing my tweet earlier, I was, we didn't talk about COVID, but I was, wait a minute.
Yeah, you see, there was a bunch of stuff. Can you believe this girl, guys? I mean, it's been already an hour, and I don't get tired of talking. I'm sorry, but yeah, we are supposed to be talking about COVID-19. And
yeah, we're supposed to be talking about COVID, and my cat was doing something bad, so I went to save him.
So
anyway,
wait, you have a cat?
Yeah, I have a cat and a dog.
Can I see the cat?
You want to see the cat?
I want to see the cat. Oh my God, she has a cat. talking about wholesome content. Oh my God! Hi. What are you doing? Hi.
So this is Shiva the cat. This cat has been in crypto since 2015. He was also there for me when I was in med school, engineering school, during
Oh
my
my God.
thesis. Yeah, he witnessed all the great stuff.
Make
So, yeah.
her an Instagram account right now. And put that in her biography, please. She deserves it. Yeah,
Yeah.
COVID.
So talking about COVID, yeah, I feel like you can take things in a bad way and like be very affected by it, or you can also like it doesn't have to be like an one way or the other. You can say something is bad, but you also can see some great stuff in it, like opportunities. And I feel like COVID has demonstrated how people should actually learn to take care of themselves and the power of communities. Because if you're waiting for companies or government to help you, as we saw, sometimes it's just not working out. And maybe some people are going to be well, but some people are just going to be on their own at some point. It's just math. And if you want to protect yourself, you're going to have to learn how to do it, and you have to focus. And instead of watching the same news, the same tweets, the debate, the trends, oh, that person say that, oh, this is criminal, oh, this is bad, this scandal, just stop everything and start thinking about what we're going through. We're going through a massive crisis. It's going to impact the economy. And
but of course, I
the
need
work is
you
still
to
to
tell
come.
me now, how does blockchain fits in the picture in the fight against a pandemic? Because what I think off the top of my head is in the health kind of standpoint. But how have you seen, since you are reviewing these projects fighting against COVID? How does blockchain actually fit in the picture?
Actually, I wrote an article about it, so it's going to make it easier for me to answer. But just to share my first reaction when someone asked me that question, I was like, who cares? Like, I mean, talking about a pandemic and maybe it's because I'm so used to people trying to solve everything with blockchain that I had this first reaction, and it's a valid question. So to answer it, I feel like maybe for specific use cases like contact tracing and handling data from people who are moving around to prevent transmission chain, blockchain can be useful because we can use it for data sharing and knowing who can access what and giving consent for some actors to use your data and then withdrawing consent and doing it in an automated way. But I'll be honest, I don't even want to waste time on that, because what I've been seeing from the government, even not talking about using blockchain, which is already too complicated for them, just doing a basic application with basic privacy features, they were not able to do it. So I'm not even, you have to learn how to walk before you learn how to run. And right now we have big issues and we don't even need blockchain to start, figuring out how we're going to solve them. What blockchain can do for COVID has nothing to do with the disease. It has to do with the economy. Crypto right now, are becoming more and more stable in the sense that, I've been in the crypto space for many years, and I was actually very scared when everything in the markets went down in mid-March. But, crypto is pretty healthy right now, and people who invested during that time actually are earning money right now. So I really feel like the real question we should ask is, how can blockchain technology help us economically in the crisis that is yet to come? And for me, buying crypto, even if it's like 1% of your saving, I'm not saying put all your money in crypto. I'm just saying diversify. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket, and don't think that someone is going to come and save you. If you want to do something, you have to put the energy and commit to some actions. It could be the DAO that I was talking about regarding funding projects against inequalities and injustice. It can be investing a little bit in crypto assets just in case something bad happened to your currency. I mean, in Occident, we are like so, I mean, in the Western world, we are so unaware of how good things are. Like, we have a stable, strong currency. Everything is doing great. People in France and, you know, in the US and in many places like that, they don't know what it is when overnight your currency loses its value. They don't know what it is to have to carry a bag of money just to, you know, buy chicken. They don't know what it is. They don't know what happened in Venezuela. They don't know all about that. And they, for a weird reason, and maybe because they were born in this system, they think it's always going to remain the same. They think they're safe as long as they're here. And what I love about COVID is that it was a demonstration that no country is safe, and we have to always question ourselves about what we are doing, how can we do better, and be smart about it. Because when you take everything for granted, you get hit in the face, basically, and then you're like, oh, we didn't see that coming.
Well, no, yeah, well, the basket thingy, it really resonates.
It's something we say in French. I don't know if it translates that well in English,
no,
but in French
no,
we say
it's a very common. It's a very common say. Don't worry.
Diversify is my point.
Yeah. Okay. So to end this amazing conversation, I will tell you about the 50 cent piece.
Yes.
Okay. So since it's eating you inside.
Because I really like 50 cents. I actually wrote something about like get rich or die trying, and I was actually talking about crypto. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, in this matter, I gotta come clean. My production team made a mistake and confused LeBlockfest with the Blockfest in Finland, which will have a lineup that includes 50 Cent. But now that I know that, but now that I know that you are not behind the organization that will handle Mr. 50 Cent for now, I know you'll be honest.
Maybe you just managed to put me on the radar of 50 Cent or something.
Yes, hopefully. I mean,
but just so you know, Blockfest is indeed a music festival, and Le Blockfest, and we added Le for, you know, the French.
Yeah, you know, my production team, man, someone is getting fired.
I mean, it's completely. You're so mean. And so Le Blockfest is the series of festival I was talking about. We call them festival because we didn't want it to be just hackathon. We do conferences, we have concerts, we have like nice time, safe places people can talk about. We talk in, we have debates, we have all the stuff. It's very festive, you know. And we talk about blockchain and crypto, but really it doesn't look like a tech event. And that's what we're trying to do. So
yeah, it sounds amazing. It sounds like a Crypto Springs kind of thing. It sounds very cool.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, after those dummies put the 50 Cent thing in my radar, I had a question that I know now that you will answer with honesty. Because you know that he says, Mr. 50 Cent says, because that's how we address him, of course.
Of course.
He says that he's not a crypto millionaire.
That he is?
But yeah, what do you think? Did he sold all the 700 Bitcoins?
I mean, we could do some analysis. I know companies that can retrace that for you if you're curious and willing to pay. We could just look at the movement that came from the interest. That's the thing that is amazing about crypto. Like, you could actually have conversation about what did 50 Cent do with his money. We just need his public key. We can see it all. Obviously, for people who are concerned about privacy, if someone wants to, you know, make things more private, there are solutions. But in this case, you know, let's just try to find out what's 50 Cent public key or something.
Yes. Okay. That's how we end up a good conversation with homework. No, but yeah. Again, thank you so much for your time today, Sajida. I had a blast.
Thank you, Dana. It was great talking to you.
It was great talking to you too. And I really hope that I can actually teach you some Spanish when you come down south, because it's going to be rough and mostly
Oh, but
very warm.
I'm texting you right after this. I'm texting you right after this. I'm definitely. It's been a year since I wanted to take Spanish lessons, so we're doing this, and then I'm
We're
coming
doing
to
this.
visit you. We're doing this.
Okay, well, bye guys. We have work to do.
Bye bye. Thank you again.
Thank you.